Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another Sims info/thoughts video. So we got a little more information about stuff that we'll be seeing in the near future with the PC version of The Sims 4, and some SimGuru Q&A, a little bit, but not too much. So the first thing I'm going to show off is this new picture here. This is another thing that was deciphered from one of Grimsudoy's puzzles on Twitter. And yeah, we got a snowy hill here, so just a little sneak peek at what terraforming or terrain manipulation, whatever you want to call it, is done with season. So yeah, that's good, that the sides of terrain do go with the snow and everything. So yeah, that's good. I was a little bit concerned about that. Though I am wondering if it's possible that the Sim playing the violin actually got to walk up this hill instead of it just being like, oh, that the terrain was raised underneath the Sims' feet, kind of like what you saw happen to the Sims in the live stream. But I don't know. Yeah, I could imagine it being that Sims could actually route up hills that steep, because the routing's a bit less picky in The Sims 4 than The Sims 3. Like, Sims can more easily walk through each other now and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I guess that's just something we'll have to wait and see once we see that live stream that is happening later next week, October 11th. And there is another screenshot here that is of the same lot that's already shown up in a couple of other screenshots. And, well, looks like my pawn theory has been shot down. That is most definitely a pool when you look at the edges of it. And I guess that was a shadow hanging out there at the back of the building that we could see from that other shot where it kind of looked like it might be water, but it's not. Dang it, Shadow, not only are you super edgy, but you're a troll now too. Great! Next thing is something that I am a bit concerned about, at least for the short term, because SimGuru Mod Squad has announced that they are going to be upgrading the version of Python that's used by The Sims 4, and that's basically like a thing that they use for the coding, and it's going to be moving from Python 3.3.5 to Python 3.7.0. And once this change is released, all compiled script mods will completely stop working, and the Pio extension is replaced by .pike. And they did know that they were going to have a huge impact on the modding community here, so they did want to provide advance notice for us, which is good. I'm really glad that they did this instead of just dropping this on us subtly within the next update, and then everyone's like, why are almost none of my mods working? And there is one other interesting thing here, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, but he does say if all goes as planned, this change should arrive in November. He also does say, note that there will not be any fundamental changes to tuning data other than the typical types of changes that we make with patches. So it does sound like some certain mods will still be okay, but more mods will definitely be affected than usual, because I keep mixing up script mods and tuning mods and thinking they're the same thing, but I believe tuning mods are considered to be very small mods that just change small things, like how often Sims autonomously eat ice cream. As long as there isn't something that actually changes that autonomy in the next patch, then a mod that does that should be fine. But something like MC Command Center, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be affected, and that mod usually needs to be updated anyway, so in that case, I guess it's not that huge a deal, but it does sound like it is going to affect like a huge range of mods, and it definitely might not be good for modders who aren't really as active and don't update their mods super often. But you're most likely wondering about custom content as well, such as hair, makeup, clothes, objects that are just basically recolors of existing meshes and don't add any actual new functionality. SimGuru Nick says, I don't think CC is expected to stop working due to this change, but we'll see. And that's a huge relief. I don't want so many of my Sims to walk around bald and almost completely unclothed. That would not be pleasant. And yeah, personally, I am expecting that custom content won't be affected by this change, since it does sound like a coding thing. But when it comes to the backend, because I am kind of curious about how this affects the actual development of the game from the programmer's end. So Singuru Nick says, I believe Singuru Mod Squad told me a few days ago that this update would not be noticeable or affect your average end user, but I'm honestly not sure. And then MSky chimes in saying, my understanding of code, let alone differences between Python 3.3 and 3.7 is minimal, but impression is this will help the time needed for programming, as 3.7 is better at catching conflicts before it becomes an issue. Seems more like a back-end improvement. Either way, the advance notice and recompiled code included in the forum post is a great way to support modders through this, and Singuru Nick does say back-end improvement are the words I should have used. So to summarize that, it looks like the newer version of Python is going to basically help reduce the amount of bugs that actually get out to us as the consumer. And yeah, that definitely sounds good. I mean, with Jungle Adventure and Seasons, a whole lot of bugs got out and it was not good for us. So it does sound like upgrading to Python is going to make things a lot better for the development team. And even though it does suck that, yeah, it looks like a lot of mods are going to break from this change, it's only going to last for a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of the modders will be very quick to update their mods, and then things will be pretty fine again. So that's why I said earlier that I'm worried about the short term of this. And if it does help the game's stability in the long term, then overall I think it is worth the effort, even though there is going to be some inconvenience at the start. But I do want to go back and highlight the fact that Singuru Mod Squad said, if all goes as planned, this change should arrive in November. Because that leads me to question, well, why would they do this then? Like, I've basically already said, okay, well, maybe Seasons kind of spurred them to do this, to upgrade the Python that they use for The Sims 4, so that they won't have another situation like the Seasons pre-patch again. But wouldn't it make sense for them to upgrade Python for releasing a new expansion pack? Like, I think that would be good too, so that, yeah, it's also that so the next expansion pack doesn't end up having as buggy a release. And I've already been thinking for a while that November is going to be the time that we're going to get a new expansion pack. And, well, if an expansion pack does release at the time, it makes even more sense to me that they would do this Python upgrade, because, let's be honest, expansion packs break a lot of mods anyways because all of the changes that they do to the game. So yeah, it just makes sense. Like, oh, okay, a lot of mods are going to break anyways, so we might as well put in these changes too, instead of spreading things out and then breaking the game's mods more often. Of course, my theory could fall apart a bit here because, keywords, if all goes as planned, there is the chance that things could still change, like with the next major game update. It was supposed to come out this month, but it's been delayed. So yeah, there is a chance that could happen too, but I hope not. I think it would be best if they did this Python change the same time as an expansion pack update drops. And I just want to say, this November update could be really huge, like even bigger than we're expecting, because if we're getting terrain manipulation, the style influencer career, it sounds like it maybe could be in a potential later update because of how they were saying it's still a bit early in development, but let's say if it was, and alongside other interesting changes and features that would match with the theme of an expansion pack that is coming out in November, then wow, geez, that could be a really big update, especially in terms of file size. Maybe it'd even top the Toddlers update in that sense. And I think I can feel my internet connection already trembling at the thought. But since they did show off that style influencer career, I think they still legally have to release it this quarter. So if it's not coming out in November, then it would have to be coming out in December. Yup, Simview Grant was not kidding when he said a month or two ago that they have a busy fall. I can definitely see it happening. And speaking of Grant, let's get into this short Q&A. Accidental segue. But he has confirmed once again that we are not getting open worlds in The Sims 4. And the same goes for just having open districts. I know I have talked about this before in a previous info/thoughts video, but I did want to bring it up again because some people still seem to think that there is a chance of us getting open world or open neighborhoods in The Sims 4. And I just wanted to reaffirm that no, this is not happening, so don't get your hopes up. And that is also why I put that aspect of the title in caps lock, just to make sure the word gets out there that, yeah, we're not getting open worlds in The Sims 4. It is not happening. So if it is to ever to return to The Sims in general, it's going to be with a brand new base game or a spin-off maybe. But I don't think they'll do something that big in a spin-off. But still, yeah, it's not happening in The Sims 4. And honestly, I'm over it. I thought I was going to miss open world a lot, and I do a little bit, but honestly, I thought I was going to miss it much more, but at least it is still better than The Sims 2, because in The Sims 2, you can't even walk off the lots at all. You're completely limited to the lot's boundaries, but in The Sims 4, you can still walk around in the open neighborhood where it's just like the public space. You can't visit any other lots without hitting the loading screen still, but you can still walk around a lot and do some collectibles or other activities in that open space, so that's still good. We still have a semi-open world. I do wish we had open neighborhoods though, so that, yeah, if you want to go to a different neighborhood, you'd still have to go through a loading screen, but if you could just visit the neighbors, the next door neighbors, without hitting a loading screen, that would have been great. I do think that they played it too safe, but yeah, hopefully with The Sims 5 we can at least have open neighborhoods that would be roughly twice the size of the biggest neighborhoods that we have in The Sims 4 right now. I am kind of expecting them to just do a bit of a baby step sort of approach, because the last thing I want is to have an open world that has so many routing glitches and other sorts of bugs like it did with The Sims 3. So yeah, that would not be good, and I think it would bring back a lot of bad memories for people. Moving on to another question that's related to worlds. When asked if they would edit existing worlds to have more terrain variety, Grant says no, that is not planned currently. And when asked, don't you think it will look strange that some worlds are flat and others have cool terrain textures and tools, he says, generally, we have always tried to make our worlds topographically interesting. There are some limitations. Stairs don't work the same on/off lot, but also terrain manipulation on lot is not the same as changing the terrain off lot. And I can kind of see Vanessa's perspective here. Like, some worlds look flatter than others, like the base game worlds, for example. They still have some slopes, but overall, yeah, they're a bit flat. But then Windenburg has a lot of varying terrain, from like the rural neighborhoods that have like a lot of hills that like, go up and down, and then you have the residential island that varies in elevation. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of variety there, but I think it's just something that's up to your own discretion. What makes sense with the background of where you're building, and just go from there. Does it make sense to have the lot be completely flat, or can you get away with a decent amount of terrain raising or lowering? One last question is actually going back to Python for a bit here. So 8-Bit Simmer asks, since you guys are changing Python, will that change requirements to run the game? And Grant says, not in this case, but over time, as the game continues to age, we may change minimum specs again. And they have done that at least once already, maybe twice, I can't remember for sure, but what I do remember is that when Get Together was about to release, with that update, they gave the game 64-bit support, because before that it was only in 32-bit, which sounds kind of crazy now, but that's how it was. And then with Cats and Dogs, I believe that's when they made it so only the 64-bit of The Sims 4 was available and discontinued the 32-bit one. And I think they might have still kept the requirements about the same, but still, like, bumping it up to 64-bit as a mandatory thing is still, I think, considered bumping up the requirements. And that wraps up another Sims info/thoughts video. So come to Windenburg, race terrain in Windenburg, and feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on anything that I talked about here. And be sure to leave a like or a comment or even subscribe, because it lets me know that you like my channel, my videos, and it keeps you updated with my latest content from The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.